Memento mori, memento vivere. Remember that you will die, remember that you have to live. This is a message that ends up sticking with you for the rest of your life. It's telling you that you have to make the most of whatever life throws at you. Persona 3 Reload is a game that I didn't necessarily expect to really set things alight for me personally in the months leading up to its release. I looked forward to it because it was going to be a faithful remake to the original Persona 3, and because there's a general consensus amongst the Persona community that it has the best story amongst the mainline games onwards, and who couldn't pass up a bit more Persona after seeing how good Persona 5 was? I opted to go in blind and let my own experience dictate whether I was going to enjoy Persona 3 Reload or not. It delivered exactly on every front. The gameplay, the best way to experience Persona 3 by far. The music, it peak as always, despite my own reservations about some of the remixes. The art style, it's also amazing like I'd expect from Persona or any Atlus game. But what I didn't really expect this game to really do was to have really a profound impact on my life as a whole. I'll be discussing this at length and highlighting the most impactful parts of Persona 3 Reload. Also, this is going to have spoilers, so if you've never played any edition of Persona 3, regardless of if it's the original, FES, Portable or Reload, I'd recommend not watching any further. This is your only warning. For anyone who's finished the game, let's dive in. It goes without saying that Persona 3's themes are extremely dark in comparison to the other Persona games. Persona 4 focused on being truthful to yourself and the world, whereas Persona 5 took an approach where you must rebel and change the society around you. Persona 3 on the other hand is a foreboding tale that comes with it a heavy responsibility and a price on its own merits. When the protagonist Makoto Yuki arrives at Tatsumi Port Island to take up his residence at Iwatodai Dorm just as the dark hour has set in, a mysterious young boy appears before him asking to sign a contract with his name. This young kid, he starts hitting you with a heavy truth bomb that is foreshadowing the rest of the game's events.
Time is something no one can escape. It delivers us all to the same end. You can't plug your ears or cover your eyes.
Once Makoto has signed the contract, he's essentially locked into this. Anything he does for the next year is purely his responsibility and only he can answer for what he does. The second thing that you're told is that time is something that no one can escape from and it delivers us all to the same end. This is also reciprocated in the Velvet Room when you enter it for the first time, and when Ego reminds you of the contract that you signed well into Persona 3's story. The first thing to consider is that there is a heavy burden on Makoto's shoulders, and one that extends to the rest of Cease as you play through Persona 3. They have a responsibility for the choices that they make. Their aim is to eliminate the Dark Hour, a phenomena that strikes every midnight that no one can observe or see happening. Anyone who didn't transmogrify into a coffin is left defenseless against the shadows roaming around the streets. That's where Cease comes in. Their purpose is to stop this from affecting the real world, whilst also scaling up Tartarus and finding out the truth about this strange tower. After defeating the 12 shadows over the course of several months, the consequences of their actions, though in good nature, begin to show in the worst possible manner when Cease finds out that the chairman of their school, Shuji Akutsuki, deceives them into bringing about the actions leading to the fall. Yes, it wasn't their fault, but it is a turning point in the game's story. You have the responsibility for performing these actions, and the consequences are there as a reminder, a lesson to be learnt as your life goes on. Similarly enough, this is something that Strega foregoes entirely in their pursuit to keep the Dark Hour. They have all given up any purpose of living, and with that their own responsibility, and their only goal is to just live in the moment by any means possible. Their reliance on taking pills to suppress their personas has also long put them on their path to living just to wait for their deaths. We are all in control of our lives, and as such responsibility, it's a pivotal theme that is subtly hinted to at every crucial plot point in Persona 3, from experiencing loss to fighting for your ideals. This is the burden you chose to put down your shoulders, and you have to make the most of it. The next theme is something that will hit a lot harder, and it's always been alluded to in a subtle way. Not many games deal with it in a manner that sets the tone for the rest of your time playing it, and it's something that everyone will have to grapple with at some point in their lives. death. It's the one constant in every aspect of our lives, whether it be our loved ones or our own. And there's a central presence within Persona 3 overall. Even the opening text of the game alludes to it. You have 1 year. 1 year to make a difference. It's almost as if the game is telling you that you're going to go through an extraordinary year of your life, whilst also subtly hinting at the fact that it may be your last. Persona 3 deals with death in such a somber way, through the various losses that you experience and even in the way that both Cease and Strega view life. Almost every character in the Cease party suffers a loss that it's too close for them, like Mitsuru grieving over the loss of her father and struggling to find a reason to live, Junpei witnessing Chidori dying in his arms, and Ken witnessing the loss of someone who had already affected his life in some manner. This is where choice and responsibility also begins to take hold. They could have chosen to just live out their days in sorrow and regret, just living life just to stay alive, without a purpose. And without a purpose, where is their will to live? But because they've lived out that loss, because they've experienced it, they're going to carry on the message left behind by their loved ones and to fight alongside it. They have something to live for. It's worth noting that every Ultimate Persona awakening is tied to the loss that they've experienced, and their character growth feels accomplished and justified for that reason. Strega, on the other hand, they know that their time will be up at some point, and they've completely given up the will to live as a result. They just roam around the dark hour and trying to keep that as their own purpose, to live in the moment. They see death as just an easy way out regardless, and in Takaya's case, he doesn't really care if he kills someone. It's because he and the rest of his group have nothing to lose with what little time they have. Some of the newer content in Reload has helped to flesh their character development out to some extent, so their motivations seem much more clearer on the surface. Time delivers us all to the same end, but it's obvious that it's what you craft your life as, and Persona 3, it delivers on those themes extremely well. Now, I want to touch on the parts of Persona 3 story and social links that just really stood out to me and had a massive impact on me as well. Whilst the game's story didn't pick up until well into the second half of my playthrough, the social links in Persona 3 Reload were a genuine surprise to experience. There is one social link, however, that hit extremely hard to the point of making me cry like a little bitch. I would go as far as to say that this is the best social link in the series, and you cannot make me say otherwise. Akinari Kamiki's social link is depressing but extremely hopeful at the same time. He is a 19-year-old teenager suffering from a genetic life-threatening illness. Kamiki has accepted that he will pass away at any moment, and he feels as if there is nothing going for him anymore as far as life is concerned. Why look forward to anything if you know for certain that you will not have long to live with the pain that you have gone through? At least that's what he thought until Makoto scolds him for that outlook in life. As the social link progresses, so does Akinari's will to live. He begins to write a book about a pink alligator that is ostracized because of its colour, and it makes friends with a bird that cannot fly. He had trouble trying to end it on a happy note, as the story takes on a sad direction. The alligator accidentally ate his best friend and tried to vomit it back, but it was too late. The alligator cried constantly until it would drown in its tears, but the aftermath left behind a legacy that the alligator itself didn't foresee. The tears would turn into a beautiful lake for other animals to rest by. They just never knew the alligator left behind this lake for them. This is the overarching theme of Persona 3, all condensed into a single social link. Even if you might not have long to live, you can still make the most of it and live life to the fullest. Akinari did so by leaving a book behind that would benefit someone going through a hard time, or to make them hopeful even if he never lived long enough to see it happen. He gives you the notebook and disappears before your eyes. He managed to finish his story in spite of all the health problems he had, and passed away knowing that he fulfilled his goal in life. At the end of the game, you meet his mother, who is touched by the content of her son's notebook and vows to move forward and live life to the fullest in his memory. It's a heart-wrenching but hopeful story, and it opened up my eyes as to how special Persona 3 would be. Towards the end of the game, the consequences of you and your party's actions in killing the 12 Shadows is apparent. You essentially freed fragments of what would eventually become Nyx, and this is especially noticeable when you witness a battle between Aigis and Ryoji, the transfer student who appears soon after the 12 Shadows are killed. You quickly find out that Ryoji is the appraiser of death, meaning that the fall would happen in the spring, and whilst Ryoji naturally in his position wouldn't care, he could not help but feel sad knowing that the people that he made friends with will fail to make it past spring. Then you'll be given the biggest and the most heavy choice in the game by far, and Ryoji, he's quite flexible with this, knowing that you have less than a month to make this decision. By the 31st of December, you have to make the choice to kill or spare Ryoji. If you kill Ryoji, you can make it past spring, but you lose all of your memories of the Dark Hour in Tartarus, and this is the worst possible outcome with a bad ending, because you've forgotten your responsibility for short-term bliss, knowing that Nyx will kill you anyway. You've forgotten your bond with Mitsu and Akihiko. You fail to recognize Aigis, who feels deep pain in that she won't be able to stop you from making a bad choice. Ken would have been consumed by pain over his mum's death, and Koromaru wouldn't have survived at all. If you spare Ryoji, Makoto and the rest of Cease will face Nyx head-on at the top of Tartarus, and he tries very hard to convince you not to fight her, because she's virtually undefeatable. Ryoji even tries to discourage you from making your decision the first time round by transforming into Thanatos, but this doesn't change your mind a single bit. The heavy tone of the music and the somber themes surrounding this point of the game just encapsulate everything Persona 3 is trying to go for. The odds of trying to fight an undefeatable entity to continue living life to the fullest and accepting responsibility even if it means facing your own demise, and this perfectly culminates in the final boss when you're the only one capable of stopping Nyx herself. Unlike the other Persona games where you can just use your SP to deliver a finishing blow, the Great Seal is the mark of Makoto's sacrifice to stop Nyx at the cost of all of his life force, but the sheer determination to keep going and to fulfill a promise to his friends makes the plot feel like it's come full circle. I won't say much about the ending other than the fact that this will forever be the saddest ending I've ever seen in a video game by far. There's been games like Eco, Metal Gear Solid 3, Klonoa 2, and Nier Replicant that have left me feeling extremely upset at the outcome of what's happened, but nothing will hit as harder as Persona 3 Reload has done. You've done everything and fulfilled everything you put yourself up to the task of doing, but knowing that you can't do anything afterwards with the people you forged a bond with, it's really upsetting. But at least in Persona 3, the protagonist lived his life to the fullest and went out peacefully with one of his closest friends by his side. I've played a lot of video games, a lot of great games, but very few games will have a profound impact on me as a person, particularly when tackling the subject of life in general. Persona 3 Reload came out at a tough time in my life recently, and little did I know I was going to be playing 80 hours of an amazing, but not only amazing, but a life-changing experience. We have our lives to look forward to, but we do not live our lives just for the sake of it. We have to have a purpose, a meaning to exist, and if we're going through a hardship, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. I found myself starting to relate to what the characters of Persona 3 are going through, and seeing that change in character growth in them reinforced the strong impact this game had on me. No matter how tough a situation might be, you must use it to move forward and grow from that, and even if it's inevitable that all of us will be gone, life is what you make of it. You choose to make the decisions that define it, the people that you make friendships with, and trying to live life at the fullest that you can. Some of my favourite games of all time reflect some of these themes really well, but nothing will ever come close to what Persona 3 Reload did across the board. It's a game that has changed my life, and I do not think I'm ready to play the new DLC or even do a new Game Plus run. I'm going to be broken again, and I know it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, or even subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.